draped window and tugged the curtain aside. Morning sunlight winked back at her, rising over the sprawling mountains in the distance. Her nerves stilled at the sight of those mountains, at the thought of those forests. What she wouldn't give to be transported straight there, to escape these stifling walls and fill her lungs with early summer air. "Can't I?" a small voice inside her asked. "Can't I just leave?" She remembered what she'd done at the battle, how she'd somehow managed to cross time and space, bringing her from beneath the dead horse that had pinned her legs to the rock where the Duke had stood. It had happened in the blink of an eye. And yet, the more time that passed between then and now, the more she began to doubt it had truly happened that way. Surely there was another explanation for it. She'd heard of witches who could astral project and astral travel, but those powers were rare. What were the chances Cora had accomplished such a feat? Besides, even if she could disappear, she knew she couldn't. She'd made her choice. Now she had to see it through. At least there was one way she could experience what stood outside her prison. Sort of. Pressing her forehead to the cool glass, she closed her eyes and extended her senses outward. It didn't take long to connect to a sense of warmth. Hoofbeats echoed the pound of her heart. She could almost feel the soil beneath her feet, smell the dew-speckled leaves glistening beneath the morning sun. Then a voice came to her, formed from feeling, shaped into words. "I'm still close by." Her lips curled into a sad smile. Even though she was a prisoner, it gave her comfort to know that Valor, her unicorn companion, was free. The door opened behind her, and her connection to the unicorn vanished. Forest trees and dewy leaves dissipated as her senses returned fully to the room. She turned away from the window just as a young woman entered. "Is this her?" the girl asked the guard. She appeared to be perhaps 14 or 15 years of age, with dark blonde hair and blue eyes. She was dressed in maroon velvet, a simple gown, but far too fine to mark her as a lower servant. The guard nodded. Without a word, he exited the room and left the two women alone. Well, that was a first. Save for her use of the toilet, there was always a guard around, even while she slept. Or tried to. For someone who once had to rely on a sleeping tonic to achieve some semblance of peaceful slumber, trying to rest while being watched was no easy feat. The girl dipped into a deep curtsy. Her face was alight with a bright smile as she rose. "It's wonderful to meet you, Princess Aveline." "Cora." The word slipped from her mouth before she could take it back. She'd gone by Cora for the last 6 years. Princess Aveline still felt foreign to her. Forgotten. Forbidden. She hadn't even liked the name before she'd fled her childhood home and had preferred the nickname her mother had given her. After she'd started her new life with the forest people, a commune of witches and Farron descendants who scorned royals, she'd discarded her former title, buried it deep alongside her past. But she wasn't with the forest people anymore. She'd relinquished her chance to return with them after the battle when she'd chosen to defend her brother instead. In doing so, she'd turned her back on magic. On her true self. On Cora. But Cora had never belonged with the forest people. Not truly. Had they known she was a princess when they'd found her wandering the woods alone as a child, they never would have accepted her into their midst. The question now was, did she belong with the royals either? "Cora," the girl echoed. "Ah, that's what the prince calls you, isn't it?" Cora's pulse kicked up at her mention of the prince. Of Teryn? Her mouth fell open, her tongue prickling with the question she was desperate to ask. How was he? Had he recovered from his wounds? But the girl was already speaking again. "I'm honored you would allow me to call you Cora in private," she said, smile widening. "I assume it's a name reserved for your dearest friends, and I do hope you will consider me a friend, for we will be spending much time together."